back to the talk show. I am Andra Hedden, and today I am joined by Terry. Thank you for joining us, Terry.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So today we are going to build upon a topic that we've been talking a lot about, which is channel account management, how to be the best channel account manager you can be. And this all stems from the CAM 101 trainings that Terry does all over the world. So we're just bringing it to you in small bites. So we've talked a bit about the different models of partners that we have, obviously, in the channel. Today, we're going to go deep on really where partners came from and how to better understand your partners. We're going to go back a little bit so that we can go forward, and we want to help you as a CAM understand your partners even better. So start us off. Give us, a good look into where partners do come from, like how, in business planning for partners. Start us off from there.
I think there's if you're not an entrepreneur, you assume a lot of things about entrepreneurs that maybe aren't true. And I think it tends to kind of lead you into making assumptions and making, kind of decisions and giving advice based on assuming a lot of different things. The reality is that, most entrepreneurs that are MSPs were not born to be entrepreneurs. It's not like they by and large don't come from entrepreneurial families. They don't tend to be very businessy minded naturally. A lot of MSPs, unlike some industries, are born out of necessity.
Yeah.
And it's a situation where they're in college or in high school, and then their friend asks them to fix their computer. Next thing you know, it's another friend, and then another friend, and then a friend's mom who also owns a business. Next thing you know, you got some business clients. They kind of accidentally become entrepreneurs. Either it's something like that where it grows organically just by natural skill or whatever, or they got laid off and they find themselves looking for work, and they get on Facebook and say, hey, I'm looking for something new. And someone says, hey, I got a business that could use some IT support. The reality is they didn't go to grad school. They don't have an MBA. Most of them didn't even go to business school.
And some may, right?
Some
that's not being too general.
Most,
some may,
by
but
and large,
the majority of them.
Right. They're coming out of computer science or computer engineering, or maybe didn't even go to college. They're more technical people, not business people or salespeople. And that means something to a channel account manager. You naturally make assumptions about entrepreneurs. You don't want to let those assumptions guide your behaviors if those assumptions are not based on fact.
True. For
an example, you may assume that all entrepreneurs know how to run companies. Well, that's definitely not the case. Most entrepreneurs struggle in running their companies. Business plans weren't built in Business Plan Pro, and they don't involve detailed projections, and bankers weren't involved in insurance companies and private equity. A lot of entrepreneurs literally wake up one day and go, oh my gosh, I actually have an IT company. I need to do accounting, and I got to get QuickBooks, and I've been running it out of Excel my whole life.
Yeah.
Their business plans aren't baked. They're not as, by and large, right? Some come in, they were born to do this. Some of them have business plans. Some of them come in with lots of money and they're eager to get started. Some of them benefit from the franchise model, maybe where they kind of buy into a business model. But the majority aren't there. They need to be taught a lot of things, either through life experience or through the wisdom of a channel account manager.
Yep, I agree with that. I think from the standpoint of understanding how the partner lives is really what's going to help any channel account manager understand how to enable the partner even more from their perspective, managing them in their space with whatever product, service, solution they have to offer. Now, talk me through, and some of obviously the viewers might not even know, give a snippet of your background, like why and how do you feel like an authority on this topic?
My background, I came out of undergrad and grad school, and then went to Ernst & Young Management Consulting and left that to start an MSP, right? So I got out of the consulting mode to start an MSP, and we were successful because we were strong where others weren't. Which
is what?
Most MSPs really do well with service. They understand product, they understand technology. They tend to do a great job at implementing tools and supporting customers. They love being the hero. They love solving problems. Like their true intense passions on the service side. And that leads them to underinvest and underfocus on the front end of the business, right? Branding, marketing, sales.
So you're saying you did invest in those
I was great
and
there.
less got it.
If you look at my competitors, a lot of them were better than I was on service. I think we had great engineers, and they frankly, overcame the obstacles that I, as the business owner, put in front of them, right? I became successful because I had some amazing people. We weren't amazing on process. We weren't amazing on investing in services. Like, I brought in great people later on as my business grew to, we got past maybe 40, 45 people. We started bringing in great leadership. But until then, we kind of skimped on leadership on the services
I'm going to
side.
stop you there. So let's talk about this a little bit. So one, obviously the point I wanted to make sure that any viewer knows is that you were an MSP, right? So simply put, was an MSP, did a lot of things right, which I think on that sales and marketing piece and positioning your business properly in order to facilitate the type of growth that you're looking for is extremely important. Now we're getting into some of the nuggets for channel account managers to understand about MSP so they can help make them even more successful. And so from an MSP standpoint, this is why you bond very well with other MSPs. You've been there, you know the deal, you know how to help them, and you know where the majority of them struggle. Now, from a channel account manager perspective, I think this is very cool information from the inner workings of an MSP to know what is important. Now, so let's talk through, you're starting to bridge into kind of structural organization. So talk through that piece. Like, what does that look like? You said you started to bring in leaders. What does a typical internal structure of an MSP look like and function like? So if I'm a CAM, I can understand that better.
Yeah. So the best thing you can do there is to ask open-ended questions to kind of figure out where they are. You can't say how many people do you have, because they're going to count contractors and third-party resources. And if you ask how many W-2 employees they have in their organization, that's going to tell you a lot. Most MSPs honestly start with one person, a combination of accounting, service, sales, and marketing, all in one human being. And a lot of MSPs are at that level, or maybe barely above that level. They don't have well-defined marketing, sales, back office, and service divisions. You know, they have one or two or three people wearing a lot of different hats.
Why is that important for someone coming from a vendor side of the house to understand that? Why is that important?
Because, you know, there's a reason that big companies get bigger, because they have talent. If you have a depth of knowledge about finance, you're going to do a better job on the back office side of an MSP. If you have a background in service leadership and service operations and efficiency, and you have a leader there, you're going to be a more rounded service person. If you have a marketing department that's got the skills necessary to develop a lot of leads, they can build a lead factory that then is given to the salesperson to go out there and close it. But when you have a small number of people wearing a lot of different hats, the reality is you're a jack of all trades and a master of none. So you've got to figure out where that partner is. Like, what is the strength of the person? For example, you can't be a service person and a salesperson at the same time. That division of responsibilities is the number one critical success factor in terms of helping businesses get off the ground. The people who are, what I would say is penny wise and pound foolish, they're trying to do too much because they're afraid to hire people. They tend to half do marketing and half do sales and half do service and half do back office. Next thing you know, they have cash flow problems. Why? Because no one's focused on that. So what you want to do is to really understand the partner, ask open-ended questions, get to know them better, find out what's keeping them up at night, find out how many W-2 employees they have, ask about their back office. The two areas that MSPs tend to struggle in the most is the very back of the house, finance, finance and administration, and then the front of the house, the sales and marketing. So asking open-ended questions, talk to me about your lead gen strategy. If they say word of mouth marketing, you know they don't have a lead gen strategy. They're dependent on the generosity of their customers to get leads. If they talk about sales and they're talking about leads that are received by the salesperson, you know they don't understand sales, because salespeople's job is to close leads. Similarly, on the back office, if they're like, oh, you know, we do all of our billing in Excel, we don't have a PSA tool, we don't have detailed contracts and billing, or we do an all-in model so we don't have to ever have an extra invoice. You know that the back office maybe isn't as mature as you would like it to be. And as an evolved channel account manager, the more you understand that, the more you can help them.
Talk through that. So the more you understand that, obviously, right? So the more information you have, the better the power to help. What do they do with that information? So I think one of the keys that obviously you're sharing is ways to dig further in to get those questions answered so that you can do something with it. So now that you've got that power of information, how do CAMs go about helping?
So the goal is to basically empower your partner with the information they need to help themselves. You, as a channel account manager that's evolved, can't do it yourself. You can't teach them finance. You can't teach them marketing. You can't teach them sales. you might be able to teach them about the product, but that is almost never the issue, right? It's these other areas.
I think that's a key point. I actually want to reiterate that because I think it's a big deal. It often, obviously, coming at it from the product perspective, typically that's not the issue, right? There are a lot of products out there. There are a lot of things that can be offered. There's a lot of solutions that answer a lot of the business needs. But inside of the MSP, I think what you're tapping into is really brilliant, is that in itself, if I'm a CAM talking to an MSP and I'm hearing about things that are going on in the business, typically there's a lot of other, symptoms that have to do with whatever that root cause is. And I think that root cause is what you're digging into, right? You're being that private investigator to get in there and dig in and figure out what that is, so that you then can go about getting them the answers that they need, whether you provide it or not.
So, yeah, because at the end of the day, your partner's going to be most successful for you and for themselves once they have a developed, mature organizational model. They have lead gen, they have sales, they have service, they have back office.
Talk about the talent for those. So talk about talent acquisition in an MSP. What does that look like?
Talent is a really complicated thing for an MSP, right? Unless, it's a lot easier to buy a service person because you see that they're the product that you're selling than it is to hire a salesperson that actually gets work for that service person, right? So in general, you'll find MSPs are very well staffed on the services side and understaffed in sales, marketing, and back office. And part of that is because they have a limited amount of money, right? It all comes down to emotional maturity. When you're not doing everything well, you tend to see the symptom best on the profit and loss statement. Yeah. They're losing money or darn close. So the idea of hiring a salesperson that makes $60,000 base salary,
hard to stomach. Yes.
Oh my God, it's hard to imagine. I'd rather buy a laptop or a tool or a new tech than I would to spend $80,000 or $60,000 or $100,000 on a salesperson, and that's before commission. Yeah, so talent is scarce out there in general, right? The economy is great. Unemployment is very low. There's very few skilled people looking for work. So you have the combination of it's hard to find people with I don't have enough money to pay people what they're worth. And you tend to try to get people to buy into the vision and almost have a nonprofit mentality where if you're a charity, you can't afford to pay max industry rates because you're trying to focus your money on delivering the charity, right? Helping the needy. Whereas in an MSP, they almost have to sell the mission because the reality is that tech can go get a job and makes 10 or 20 or 30 grand more a year. They can go get a salesperson that would have a bigger base salary, maybe a bigger top end commission. So talent is hard for everybody, but it's especially hard for an MSP. They don't have an HR department. They don't have a recruiter, right? They don't have Indeed or
until they get to that point,
right? Until they get maturity.
We're talking about the MSPs that are on the path to maturity, not necessarily the ones that are already booming and they already have all those departments and divisions and they're well-oiled machines.
So you want to mature the MSP. That's your goal. So figure out where their areas for improvement are and then introduce them to knowledge, introduce them to people, introduce them to companies that can help them develop in those areas. The ideal scenario for a channel account manager is to have a portfolio of companies that's really good at generating leads, really good at closing deals, really good at servicing customers, and then really good at managing their back office, finance, HR, all that, to keep the organization stable and cash is king, right? Keep the cash available. So as a channel account manager, your job is to develop your MSPs. It's 5% of the time is it about the product. Right. 5% of the time is it about service. It's almost always something else. But no one wants to talk about it, right? If you're having cash flow problems, you don't want to talk about that. You certainly don't bring that up voluntarily. So the channel account manager has to build a relationship with the partner.
So it's safe to do that.
Right. And they feel like you can, and people are going to be more apt to bring up complicated subjects when they think it's going to add value. So if you show that you're going to help them and that your goal is for them to become a $20 million reseller or a $100 million reseller, and they start opening up to you because your interests are aligned and you're on the same team
about the business growth of their company.
About the goal. Absolutely. And then you say something like, "So what's keeping you up at night?" "Oh man, I cannot find a salesperson." "Okay, well, walk me through that. What are the challenges?" "Oh man, everyone wants huge base salaries." And then you may help them understand that salespeople that generate 3, 4, 5K RMR net new a month, they're worth the big base salary. In fact, they could be your most valuable employee.
It's worth the investment.
Incredible.
I think so. So take it from the sales person, right, which is obviously amazing. Talk to me a little bit about lead generation and marketing when it comes to an MSP. So many CAMs, obviously, as you're evolving and as you're getting into this net new age of being able to enable your partners to the extent that they really need you, it's important to understand each one of these items we've talked through, but then it's also important to understand where they are at today from a lead gen and demand gen perspective, and then how to get them to that next step. So talk through that. Like, where is a typical MSP trying to grow right now from a lead gen and demand gen perspective?
So, 94% of resellers will tell you that demand gen is their biggest problem. They may say it's sales, they may say lead gen, they may say marketing, but what they mean is the ability to attract prospects and close deals. That's the majority of the time the number one issue that a reseller has. Now, there's a natural conflict because no reseller wants to have to go do the work to generate it because it's expensive and difficult, and frankly, they don't understand it. They don't understand how to get a lead or close a sale. So what they say is, hey, Cam, if you love me as a partner, you'll give me leads, right? It's kind of the
or you'll give me the dollars to generate leads also, because that's a big one too.
The ideal is give me the leads.
Yeah.
And just funnel me leads. And from a vendor's perspective, so that's one side. Give me free leads. From the other side, you have the fully functional, you get all the leads you could possibly ever want. Right, that's where the vendor wants them to be. It costs them nothing, and they get an unlimited flow of leads because they have 1,000 partners that are generating 20 leads a month each. Right. The reality is there's hybrids in the middle, right? And it's giving partners, getting them addicted to giving them leads is kind of like you're giving them fish instead of teaching them how to fish. You're enabling their bad behavior. What you want to do is to come toward the middle there, where you're giving them the training, you're giving them the knowledge, you're giving them the connections to go get the leads themselves. Maybe you're jointly funding. Maybe you start off with 100% funded and you back down to 25% funded. At the end of the day, what you're trying to do is mature the reseller. So you've got to transition the responsibility of lead gen, of sales, and of service. You've got to transition that over time to being all the reseller's responsibility. That way, you're more scalable. You're not having, as an organization or as a channel account manager, you're not having to do the work yourself. You're empowering your channel to do the work themselves. Every aspect of it, from lead gen to service and billing, right? So as a channel account manager, you really want to try to mentor them and mature them and give them incentives and motivation and confidence to do more themselves so that you can wean them off of dependence from you. Teach them how to fish, whether that's teach them how to get leads, teach them how to close sales, teach them how to successfully implement, successfully support, successfully build. The more things you can teach them and motivate them and inspire them to do on their own, the more time and resources you have to focus on the next partner, to start developing the next partner. So your CAM as a big picture, you're trying to mature your resellers. So giving them product knowledge is important. Being there when they have a problem, being there to send a quote over, those are all important things. Don't get me wrong, but that's going to get you to 1x. If you want to get to 10x production of your channel, it's about maturing resellers.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to do it for them. You don't have to tell them what to do. You can just say, hey, you have a problem with lead gen? Call Marketopia. They'll get all the leads you want. In fact, you know what? We love Marketopia so much, we'll pay half. And all of a sudden, Marketopia is motivated to help get your partners trained because they have a lot to gain, right? You're going to pay for half, which means it's going to be easy to close business. The reseller's like, oh, that seems fair. You chip in $1, I'll chip in $1. We'll have $2 and let's get to work. And from the vendor, they're like, listen, I don't have to spend all my money to give my partners leads. Now I pay half as much. And if you start working with a partner like a Marketopia, you don't have to retrain all the agencies and all the service providers. You can train a company like Marketopia one time and then have them go out to your partner base and start replicating the same thing over and over, whatever's working. They're not reinventing the wheel, learning lessons on the fly over and over and over. And again, like you would if all of your partners had a different agency. Work with one. Let them work with them to figure out how to be successful, and then let them loose on your partner base and let them go do what they do to generate leads, generate sales, generate profit for you. And then you can start multiplying the performance of your channel, of your personal channel, and thus your personal income as a channel account manager. You're evolving your partners to evolve by evolving yourself, which evolves your paycheck into having maybe multiple digits to the left of the column of the comma.
Absolutely. I think from the standpoint of making sure too that you know the resources that you have out there to lean on. There's a bit of homework there too. A lot of vendors do that homework at the parent level of the vendor, corporate mandated, marketing partners you can work with, lead generation partners you can work with, finance partners you can work with, whatever the case may be. There are a lot of things that they will already from the corporate level say, hey, look, this is who we support. This is our portfolio of support offerings. Pull from this, CAMs, and this is what you can give to your partners. That is wonderful because you can say, okay, great. I'm talking with my MSP partner. I know he's got these check boxes of issues. I know exactly where to go and get the answer over here and then bring it back for you. Not every vendor has that or has the luxury of having this library of partners that you can turn to, corporate strategic partners to give over to the MSP. So if you don't have that, don't be afraid to go out and create your own, find your own, obviously within means and along the lines of whatever your corporation will stand for, but go find those partners that will help, because the reality is back to what we were chatting about in previous shows too, the relationship that you as a CAM are building up with that partner is what's the most valuable. So if you are creating that expertise and that thought leadership within that relationship, they're going to trust what you have to say. And that's because you've proven the fact that you're looking out for them from a business standpoint, not just looking out for yourself from a your own incentivized standpoints. So I think that those are really great points. And I think too, knowing how to scale your own time is huge. We talk to channel account managers all the time that is what they're trying to figure out. I've got this huge amount of partners that I'm responsible for. I don't really understand how I can make a difference in their worlds. I don't know how I can help them make more money, and I don't know where to go from here. And so obviously they attend trainings and such, but there's a lot of things you can do out there. So I think the at the end of the day, you really need to figure out the best way to use the minutes that you have in the day in order to justify giving some value back to your partners and growing them. And so teaching them to fish, as you mentioned. Yeah. Last thing I want to touch on with you is talk through, just so that every CAM, some CAMs watching this might be brand new to the role. Don't even know, maybe brand new to the industry. Others may be seasoned, right? We don't know, but talk through how MSPs make their money. So when you're reverse engineering as a CAM, everyone knows that what's going to perk the ears up of that MSP the most is how to grow their business, how to make money, and how to be even more successful and grow. So if a CAM knows how they make their money, they can help reverse engineer into the solution. So talk about, where do the revenue streams come from? How do MSPs make money?
30 years ago, money was made selling products and supporting products. That's what it was about. You would sell a SAN, you'd sell a backup device, you'd sell PCs and servers, and you'd make 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50 points of margin. Well, those days are long gone. And for MSPs that are depending on hardware as their source of revenue, frankly, they're really surviving on the float right now. They're surviving on back-end rebates and the float. The float being, I get paid by the customer, and then I'm on a flooring account with the distributor where I don't have to pay for the bill for 60 days. So I get a 60-day float. Mm-hmm. They're running their business on the float. So if they stop selling hardware, they'd eliminate their float and they'd have huge cash flow problems. That is the transition from selling hardware to not selling hardware, is that float. It's not the margin. That's a minor problem. Yeah. It's the float, right? The reality is most resellers are just struggling to make $1. Mm-hmm. They're not worried about, how do I get from 10 million profit to 12 million profit? They're trying to get from 30,000 profit to 50,000 profit so that they can provide for their families. That's a lot of resellers. Some are going from 300 to 500, but my point is that they're looking for all sources of revenue. Mm-hmm. Now, an uninvolved channel account manager would push products, sell more coffee mugs. Every coffee mug you sell, you get an extra 25 cents. What they're not realizing is that it takes a heck of a lot of coffee mugs to get to 300,000 in revenue if you're making a quarter per, right? The product company is thinking about revenue, not profit. Mm-hmm. So as an uninvolved channel account manager, you're pushing your product. Look at all the product. Oh, sell more product. You can do this. Why? You're being selfish. Mm-hmm. The reality is you're trying to look out for yourself, when in reality, you're actually stabbing yourself in the back. By pushing product, you're pushing your partner to do something that's going to make them fail. So what you really want to do as an evolved channel account manager is say, listen, my product is part of a portfolio that will make you wealthy. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to help teach you how to be successful. I'm going to teach you how to make a great profit involving my product. I'm going to teach you how to sell implementation services. I'm going to teach you how to sell managed services on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to teach you how to sell advisory services to tell people how to buy it. And then I'm going to help you sell all the complementary services that have nothing to do with my product, but maybe would help you if you, so right now there's a lot of Evolve channel account managers that are teaching their product-centric VARs how to become MSPs.
Mm-hmm.
They understand that a well-run MSP that sells coffee cups is a lot more successful financially than one who just sells coffee cups.
Mm-hmm.
That success allows them to evolve. They can afford a marketing person to generate leads. They can help a sales team. They can afford an accounting team. They can mature. So you have a pull-through. It's called a pull-through, where by getting good at everything and making more money, they're going to be more loyal to the vendor.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to sell more coffee cups because they're just better at selling coffee cups. They're better at selling everything. You've matured that MSP, and Evolve Channel Account Manager steps away from themselves and understand that no matter what you sell, you're a piece of a solution right now. There's no one size fits all. Everything comes from one vendor. The reality is every solution includes services from the reseller, includes services from third parties,
Mm-hmm.
products from third parties, plus the product that you're actually trying to represent. So teach your partners how to be successful. Teach them how to make money. When you do that, not only will they sell more of your product, but their loyalty will soar
Mm-hmm.
because they see you as someone who actually cares, who listens and teaches and mentors. They're developing you. It's not about a product. There's a lot of companies out there that sell the similar product,
Mm-hmm.
but there's not a lot of companies out there that actually genuinely care about their partners and show it on a daily basis by doing what it takes to help the partners succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what an Evolve Channel Account Manager does. They're all about helping their partners succeed. They understand that they'll succeed as a natural byproduct of helping their partners succeed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think these are all awesome nuggets. So thank you, Terry, for sharing. And I think that, one of the last things you said, I think is great too, focusing on just helping your partners succeed and whatever that means, because again, every single partner is different. But hopefully this helps you from the CAM perspective understand a little bit more about the makeup of MSPs from a person who was an MSP at one point in time, giving you the ins and outs and the back end of what really goes on behind the doors of an MSP. So thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon.